Welcome to The Actor's Choice, where the actors and actresses have a chance to talk about themselves and their careers. Join us now for the next hour as we explore the marvelous industry of acting by actors and actresses from today's exciting show business world. And now, direct from Hollywood, here's your host, Ron Brewington.
Hi, everybody. I'm Ron Brewington, and welcome to The Actor's Choice. Roll it, Tony.
All the people who didn't get in the Snoop Dogg Ripple parties, I guess. So welcome. You know, everyone hates Ripple until they have a 90s rapper at their party. You down with XRP? Yeah, you know me. Oh wait, that's like a totally other 90s rapper. I don't get why everyone hates Ripple. I mean, just because it's pre-mined, the founders own most of it, it's centralized, it's a banker's coin, they have more drama and lawsuits than Trump. Oh wait, maybe that's why. All right. You guys are big Ripple fans, I see. All right. Dump. No, so for those who don't know me, you must be pretty new.
Ladies and gentlemen, my first guest today is the true story of a young woman whom the Wall Street Journal dubbed the Queen of Bitcoin. She had a spectacular rise and sudden fall. She has since connected and is now the CEO and co-founder of Beyond the Runway, a fashion technology startup. Ladies and gentlemen, please welcome Margaux Avedisian. Greetings, Margaux.
Hi, thanks for having me.
And welcome to The Actor's Choice. Before we get started, please tell us where you're from.
I am from Fort Lauderdale, Florida, and I live in Los Angeles.
Okay, Florida, okay. Here's my favorite question. I like to always ask how people got into stuff. So I will ask you, how did you first get into Bitcoin?
I lived in San Francisco, and I had a lot of nerdy friends. And
what?
I had a lot of nerdy friends.
Oh, nerdy. I thought you said something else.
Yes.
Okay. Interesting. 2012, I believe, was when you founded the Bitcoin Capital Partner.
2012 is when I relaunched the first American Bitcoin exchange with a couple other folks, and that kind of began my journey into that space.
In doing my research, I found that there's a tale about how you got into the technology via a broken arm.
You're kind of giving away my show here. I talk about all of this in my solo show, but living in San Francisco, I saw all of these guys that were starting all these tech companies, and I was like, if they can do it, I can do it. And that's kind of how I fell into it, literally.
Okay. Before we go any further, let's take a look at a short film about what is a Bitcoin. Roll it, Tony.
It's Halloween of 2008, and subscribers to a niche mailing list receive a document from a mysterious author. The only clue to who wrote it is an alias penned at the top of the first page, Satoshi Nakamoto. No one knows who Nakamoto is, or even if Nakamoto is one person or a group of people. But the identity of the document's writer is far less important than what's contained within it. Between 9 pages of black and white text is an idea, one that lays the groundwork for something revolutionary.
So there it is. What is a Bitcoin? A young man by the name of, what's that name I have? Satoshi Nakamoto? The name sound familiar?
Yes. We don't know who Satoshi Nakamoto is. It was probably a few people, actually. And no, it's definitely not that guy. People did pound him thinking it was him. But
it is. That's the man. Yes.
Anonymous who actually created.
Okay. What was it like being the queen of Bitcoin?
Well, I used to say that I was a leading woman in Bitcoin, but I was also the only woman in Bitcoin. So it was really exciting to be on the ground floor of this technology. I think there's a lot of kind of misunderstanding about Bitcoin because it is a technology that's pretty complicated. My show is not about Bitcoin. It's about me and kind of my journey as being a woman in tech and taking risks and forging my own path and kind of the trials, tribulations, and funny and interesting things that happen along the way. But yeah, it was fun to really be kind of on the ground floor of something and helping to shape it for better or for worse.
Okay. If you're going to have a queen, you got to have a king. Who's the king?
We don't need a king, actually.
Go ahead, girl. Why you say that?
I'm sorry?
Why do you say that?
Well, I mean, actually, this is what my show's about. I think we all are queens and kings or non-binary gods. We all have this within ourselves. And so it's just do what brings you joy that helps other people, you know?
Okay. How difficult was it for you to be in this organization and be male dominated? How'd you deal with that?
I mean, there's positives and negatives to everything. Because there aren't a lot of women. I probably got my foot in the door more than other people, but I definitely had people a couple times ask me if I was the assistant. And so then I'd say, oh, you must be new if you don't know who I am. So like with everything there, you have to create the reality that you want, you know, and focus on the positives. But, you know, it's not easy. There's a reason probably why a lot of women aren't in there. And I think part of that might be is I noticed that I'm very risk adverse. I learn by doing things. And a lot of women want to be experts before they do something. So I love talking to women and being like, look, come to the conference. 95% of the guys here don't know anything about it, you know, but they're here to learn. You don't have to be an expert before you try to do something. And that's also kind of what my show is about. Like I never knew what I was doing, but then by the end of it, I became an expert. Just like I did not know how to do a solo show and I was sobbing in a desert, but I ended up doing it.
Okay. Do you want to see them bring back the Bitcoin?
I mean, Bitcoin is still here. There's definitely use cases for it. I think it needs to be a lot easier, but you know, I give the example, let's say someone's in a country and they have to flee and they, you know, their currency is going to be worthless and they can't take all their gold or valuables with them. If they're able to sell that for Bitcoin, when they get to the new country, they can able to sell that for a national currency. So there are some use cases for it. It's really a technology that gets rid of the middleman.
Okay. In my research, I found that in 2014, you did the Rise and Rise of Bitcoin film, a documentary.
Yeah, I was in that documentary, and actually I'm going to be in 2 other documentaries that are going to be coming out hopefully soon.
All right. You're currently a stand-up comedian, host, CEO, of course, we talked about, founder of a fashion technology startup, Beyond the Runway. How is business coming along right now?
Good. We just finished development and we're talking to some brands to integrate. So basically we make it when you're shopping online, you know how you don't know what size you are sometimes and you're stuck between 2 sizes. Well, we make it easy for you to create an avatar of yourself. You just need an app that we make and you walk in a circle and then you have an avatar of you that has your measurements. And then we take the patterns of the clothing and we create 3D versions. And then you can virtually try on the clothing and know what size you are and try on different sizes to see which fits you the best.
Sounds like you got some great ideas there.
Never boring, that's for sure.
That's for sure. Your experience as an entrepreneur on the ground floor of innovative technology spans a decade. Is that correct?
It is, yeah. I don't age, I'm a vampire.
Just keeping to the touch. Understand? Okay. Well, we've talked for about 9 minutes or so. Let's talk about the queen of Bitcoin, the rise and fall. There it is right there.
I love
Tell us about it. What is the synopsis of this play? New play you coming out with?
Yeah, so it's a solo show. I wrote it and perform in it. I play around 30 characters. And it's not about Bitcoin, so you don't have to know anything about Bitcoin going into this. And it really starts from me as a very strange but entrepreneur performing child. And then how I got into technology and just some of the things I did and kind of overcame. And you see definitely some of those patriarchal echoes and really kind of finding myself. There is some kind of dramatic situation that happens that I don't want to give it away, but you know, I've been in this crypto industry for a really long time, and hopefully that my story is hilarious to people and maybe somewhat inspiring as well.
Okay. Now you've already done one performance already. You got two more coming, right?
I do, yes.
And what was the reception for the first one?
It was great. Yeah, it was sold out, and I'm really looking forward to my next show. I got all the jitters out, everything that could go wrong before the show did, but I managed to do it. There's so many lighting cues, and there's a lot of blocking. It's very fast paced. It really, I pick the hardest genre that you could do. I learned it's not easy to do a solo show, especially when you're playing different characters, and it just moves really fast because it has to be done in an hour. And when I originally wrote it, it was 4.5 hours. So then I had to pare that down to an hour. Yeah. And there's a lot of lighting cues, and there's some visuals, but yeah, it's a really fun story. I learned so much about myself from doing it, and I saw how resilient I am, and really it was a negative situation happened, and so instead of being down about it or becoming a victim, I decided to do this show and turn it into art. And I believe everything kind of happens for a reason, so that's why I did this show.
And art, that's a good suggestion. And the feedback you get from it is really out of sight.
Yeah, I was really humbled by a lot of the feedback I got, and having people see it. And people have said how I'm very vulnerable in it. And it's funny, you don't realize how vulnerable you are when you're doing it in some ways, because it is your story. But that was very interesting to hear. Actually, a few people said I need a book after it. There's been some reviews. So I guess maybe that's my next thing.
What made you make this a solo performance versus having cast members?
Well, I originally, to be honest with you, I didn't know what a solo show was. So when I thought it was I would sit on a stool and tell stories. I've been a stand-up comedian for 11 years. I thought it was like that. With comedy, it's very fluid, and it's very much you are relying on the audience in a way, like you were playing to the audience. And so when I originally wrote this, I wrote it as a memoir, and I worked with Jessica Lynn Johnson. She's like the queen of solo shows, and she told me to break out the characters. So instead of me telling a story, you would have the story told by the characters. And I didn't realize that at first. I went to a retreat with them, and when I started seeing other people's, clips of their solo shows and learning more about it, I did sob in the desert. We were in Joshua Tree, and I'm like, what did I get myself into? This is really, really hard. So I really just wanted to tell my story, and I didn't really know what a solo show was. And, now I do. Now I definitely do. And it is pretty fun to do the different characters. There's obviously a lot of men in them. And I've worked with a bunch of different coaches on it. And you would think I'm opening on Broadway with all the different people who are helping me through this. And yeah, so that I didn't really know, but I was called to do it.
Got you. Margaux, I got to ask this question.
Yeah.
Are you going to take this play on the road?
I would love to. So I think so. I'm going to apply to a couple more festivals. There's people in New York who want to see it. There's some people from New York who came and saw it. And so I'm really open to different options. We'll see what happens.
All right. What would people get out of this play? What would you learn?
Well, I definitely think they will be entertained. That first and foremost. It's definitely interesting. It's definitely something that you've never seen before. There's a lot of solo shows, and not to knock them, but they're a lot about tragedy, and mine is kind of, I say my life's kind of like the crypto price. It goes up and down, and so I really hope people are entertained, and I think that is definitely for sure. I hope there's some sort of inspiring, realizing that we can do whatever we set our mind to. There's a lot of spirituality that's in my show also.
Oh, okay.
So I talk a lot about Kabbalah and Kundalini, and Kabbalah talks about, we don't know the whole story. So when something happens to you that seems negative, it can be a blessing in disguise. I used to have a podcast called Burning Bridges with Margaux, but I'd always ask the guests, like, tell me about something that was terrible. Like a lot of people said they got fired or broken up with, but then that ended up being the best thing for them. And so maybe I can help people to change their perspective, in their real life, because we just don't know, why things are happening to us, but we just have to trust that it's for our best, our highest good.
Well said. Well said. Which brings me to say, what excites you the most about this play?
What excites me about it is that I've done something that was very difficult for me, and I'm proud of myself for doing it, and to hopefully have a positive impact on people, and even, entertain them. But, if I could be somewhat of an example of like, oh, wow, she's been through all this and she's gotten through it, and this is her perspective, then I can do it too. So I'm just proud of myself for all the work I've put into it. And it was, very challenging.
Okay. Tell us where the studio, where this play is going to be stationed at. Where can I find it?
The Stephanie Fury Studio in Hollywood.
5636 Melrose Avenue, Los Angeles. I understand there's a telephone number 415-336-0513 or mquinn@theaterasylum.com.
Yes.
Okay. Let's see. Again, now your upcoming is June the 18th, which is a Sunday, 2:30 p.m. Yep. And you got one on a Saturday night, June 24th, 10:30 p.m.
Yes, that's an after dinner show. So go have a couple drinks, and then you can come see my show. This Sunday is gonna, it's Father's Day, so that's something you can take your father to, or yourself. But yeah, they're fun. It's interesting. See it now, because I don't know how many more runs I'm gonna have in LA for a while. I might do it in a few months, but it's always good to see it in person before you see it on Netflix, right?
All right. Like that attitude. Margaux, I want to thank you so much for joining us today here on The Actor's Choice. We got some good information that we learned today, and please come back again. And my special thanks to your publicist, Philip Sokolov, my dear friend. Thank you so much. Ladies and gentlemen, Margaux Avedisian. Oh, knocking us on the head. This is The Actor's Choice. I'm your host, Ron Brewington. Okay, we got another thing we want to talk about of interest to us right now, and that is, where did I put it? We'd like to let you know that we are asking our Actor's Choice fans to help us get former baseball player Curt Flood in the Baseball Hall of Fame. Curt passed away January 20th, 1997, was the husband of one of our wonderful guests, renowned actress Judy Pace. All you got to do is contact the TAC office at 213-349-3941. That's 213-349-3941. And ladies and gentlemen, we sincerely thank each and every one of you for this magnificent award for a great baseball player. Okay? Okay. Roll it, Tony. All right, ladies and gentlemen, I want to take a moment of your time to say, do you want to get into broadcasting? Now, let me just take a moment to ask you a very important question, and that is, have you ever thought about getting into broadcasting? The money's good. You meet a lot of people, like the gentleman I'm about to meet in the next few moments. You go to different places. You're having a good time. I want to tell you about a class that I teach over at Santa Monica College. Been there for over 20 years, and we offer you the skills of broadcasting, announcing, and production. So I'd like to say, ladies and gentlemen, how would you like to get into broadcasting? You got that voice, but you have to have the training. That's all you got to do. Call me at 323-533-1036. That's 323-533-1036. We meet online on Tuesday and Thursday, starting August the 29th, every Tuesday and Thursday for those 16 weeks. Okay? Give me a call again, 323-533-1036. Thank you. Roll it, Tony.
Signal to anybody in the room? Say a hand signal?
No, my hands were pinned down, right?
Signal to anybody with your eyes?
No.
Were you struggling?
Yes.
Anybody see you struggling?
They must have.
Miss Tobias, can you in any way prove to us that someone in that room, anyone, saw you struggling or heard you say no?
Ladies and gentlemen, indeed, it is a pleasure to have a fellow New Yorker as a guest today. And by the way, ladies and gentlemen, if you missed it last night, CBS put on one heck of a Tony Awards last night. Did you watch it there, Peter?
I did indeed.
All right, sir. So you know what I'm talking about.
Absolutely.
Direct from the United Palace in New York City, located, if you've never been there, ladies and gentlemen, 4140 Broadway, if you ever want to get a chance to go there. Okay?
Magnificent.
What a night. What a night. Our guest has been done. He knows exactly what it's all about. When you see this gentleman, you say, hey, I know that guy. So let's put him on the screen, ladies and gentlemen. Ladies and gentlemen, please welcome veteran actor, Peter Van Norden. Greetings, Peter. Greetings.
Good morning.
Welcome to the Actor's Choice. So what'd you think about last night's Tony?
I had a great time. I mean, it was, it's always a fun production. I mean, that opening number was really astonishing.
Yes.
Ariana DeBose, and those dancers, that was very impressive. And there's a lot of people in New York I still know and follow. And so it was fun to see them.
Wow. What made you get into acting, sir?
Well, I'll tell you, the actual moment when I think I wanted to become an actor, I think I was 11 or 12, and my parents took me to see a Broadway musical called How to Succeed in Business Without Really Trying.
I've seen that one before. Yes, I've seen it. Yes.
And Bobby Morse was the lead in it, and I saw him as an 11-year-old, and I watched him on stage, and I thought, look what that man does. He makes me laugh. He makes me love him. Other people make me hate them. They make me cry. And I said, wow, what a powerful thing to be able to do with one's life. And I think that was the moment. I think it was Bobby Morse actually that made me want to become an actor. I then started doing a lot of acting in school, in high school and college, and pursued it after that.
Got you. And you, of course, being born in New York City. Folks, if you've ever been to New York City, there's a test to find that if you are a true New Yorker. They are hot dogs, mustard and onions, or hot dogs with mustard and sauerkraut.
Without a doubt, a real New Yorker has hot dogs with mustard and onions.
And I'll tell you right now, say again.
We'll throw you out of New York if you put ketchup on your hot dog.
Yes, thank you. Are you guys out there watching this? New York, it's a wonderful town. As we always say, the city's so nice they named it twice. The city's so pretty they named it New York City. Great city. Okay. You went, as we move forward, 1979. You got your first IMDb credit when you played a beauty parlor manager in the comedy Squeeze Play. Can you tell us about that?
Yeah, Squeeze Play was produced by Troma Films. Troma Films were very popular at the time. They had done Toxic Avenger and movies like that. And this was a very, very silly comedy in the realm of Animal House. It was the time of Animal House, and it was that kind of sort of silly comedy stuff. And I played this crazy beauty parlor manager who was coming on to this young girl, a disgusting character. But it was fun. It was my first time in front of the camera. I learned a lot.
Excellent. Ladies and gentlemen, let me tell you a little bit of something about this young man. He had a solid, and we talked about it before, for 19 years. We're talking from 1979 to 1998. This gentleman had a lot of work to do. He got 71 IMDb credits. He never missed anything, nothing. He was always working that's like that show we saw last night. To see those people out there working. What do you say, sir?
It's a lot of hard work. It's a lot of dedication, and it takes a lot of tenacity. I'll tell you right now, you got to stick with it. That's what I tell young actors. There are times when you're going to work. There are times when you're not going to work, and you got to stick with it, and you got to keep showing people that you're worthy. But tenacity is a real asset.
Thank you. I know one time because for me, I love stage, and oh God, particularly Shakespeare, this gentleman loves to play. they being in theater, they said, I said, well, you know, you come to New York City, you come to LA, you want to be a star and blah, 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 but you won't get up on the stage. And the guy said, well, you know, shoot, that, you know what that is? Rat spelled backwards is what we call that.
You know, stage has certain demands.
Right.
Vocal demands, emotional demands.
Yes.
That are different than film and TV. You know, we always say in stage, there's no take two. You're out there on your own, and you can't stop and go, wait, we got to do that again.
Got you.
So the demands are different. And plus, you have to create an arc of a character through a whole evening.
Yes.
That you don't do in a film because you're shooting it piece by piece in a film. So yeah, the demands are different, and a lot of people shy away from them because they are.
They don't dare to get up on that stage. Woo.
That's it.
Don't know why.
It's hard.
Yeah. You ever thought about being a director?
Everyone asks me that. Why don't you direct? Why don't you direct? If I was going to be a director, I think that would be my job. You know, acting's hard enough. I am actually directing a show after I finish the show that I'm doing. I'm going to direct a show for a friend of mine. But I don't do a lot of it. My wife taught high school out here for 35 years. She's now retired.
Yes.
So I did a lot of directing with the students at that high school, which was always very rewarding. But that's the only directing I've actually done.
Okay. All right. One of the things that we did, as I was going through IMDb, I happened to come across one of your artists, and that one is, it's a reel on the dramatic reel. Would you roll that one for me, Tony?
How could I know that would happen?
It's called a 10-day waiting period. I got a lot of friends who can do me a lot of favors, but I won't help you if you don't help me. Tell me where you got this gun.
Come on. A couple came in a couple of weeks back. Said they found it in the attic. Name and address is probably fake, but the thumbprint is real. It's the girlfriend's.
Marvelous, outstanding. You see all those quick? That's good reel. Good reel. Got some good stuff in there. Definitely.
That was the amazing Angela Bassett, of course, from 911, the television.
Yes.
911. She was a joy to work with. She was so sweet, so supportive.
Have you been up to New York City, say, in the last week or so?
Not in the last week, no.
Okay. The reason I asked was all that smog is out there in New York.
Been a problem.
Yeah, big problem. Yeah, look at it. Thank you, Tony.
It's like,
hard to believe. That's New York right there.
Yeah, no, it's like an alien planet.
Yes, indeed. Ladies and gentlemen, this man came here today to talk about something so real. We call it The Tempest. Can you give us a little synopsis about what this is all about?
The Tempest is, most people consider it to be Shakespeare's last play. We think it's the last play he wrote in its entirety. He may have done some small additions to other plays later, but the last play that he wrote in its entirety is a play about the usurped Duke of Milan, who is thrown out of his country by his very evil brother with his 3-year-old daughter. They landed on a sort of magical island somewhere, we don't know where it is, but it's filled with magic and sprites and interesting people. And by chance, he works out that all his enemies end up on this island. And the play is basically a revenge play. Can he take revenge on these people who have wronged him? And what does it mean to take revenge? And is revenge a worthy thing? And being that it was late in his life, it's an elegiac play, really. It's a play about what it means to be giving up your art, the way Shakespeare did at the end of his life, and what it means to sort of give up that magic power that you have as an artist. There is, in my opinion, some of the most beautiful poetry that the man ever wrote in this play. It's astonishingly beautiful. I have the privilege of playing this character, Prospero, and it is an honor. It's a part I've been aware of my whole career. I've always wanted to play it, and I'm really happy to be doing it. We're doing it at the Antaeus Theater Company in Glendale, which is, one of LA's premier classical theater companies. And we open up pretty soon.
We got a picture of the guy who did the writing.
Oh, yeah. That guy, Willie.
There he is. William Shakespeare, ladies and gentlemen. Never seen him. There he is. My goodness. How did it feel for you when you were selected for this role?
Well, again, I was really honored. I've worked with director Nikki Dukas, who's directing it. I've worked with her several times. And, as soon as I found out that the theater company wanted to do this play as part of their season, I was on the horn with Nikki going, Nikki, how about me as Prospero? And she was on board with that right away as well. So it was a sort of confluence of agreeable things. It worked out perfectly. Interesting enough, I was doing another production of The Tempest, playing a different role just a month ago. So I'm doing back-to-back Tempests, which is sort of unusual. That was for Shakespeare Center, LA, downtown LA.
And now this will be a 5-week run, I'm understanding?
Correct. We run through, I believe, July 17th, I believe it is.
So looking good. And you have a preview. You did that June 11th, and that'll take you all the way through June 15th.
Correct.
Indeed. I just want to take a moment because I had asked this question before. This is when they talk about a preview, for the benefit, there's some people say, what's a preview? Can you tell us what that is?
So previews are basically performances for an audience, but the play has not been set yet. So we're still making changes. We're still adjusting things based on how an audience responds to the play. Like there might be things where we're going, well, that seems a little slow. We need to play it faster, or we need to make some cuts in it. We need to adjust the staging, whatever. So we're always doing slight adjustments during previews, trying to make it as perfect as we can. And that the audience participation in those shows is incredibly important because we learn so much from it. So previews are really important. They're sort of a very high-end rehearsal.
That's beautiful, beautiful. Now, this program is being presented by the Antaeus Theater Company.
Antaeus.
Please tell us about that great organization.
They're wonderful. I mean, I've been a member since, I think, 92. So and they're, we call ourselves LA's Classical Theater Company. We do a lot of classical theater, but we also do new plays, a lot of interesting plays. We have a stable of, some of the best actors in Los Angeles, stage actors in Los Angeles for sure. I'm very proud to be a member of the company. I love working there. We have a beautiful theater that we built basically in Glendale. It's a gorgeous space. It's very audience friendly, very comfortable, and I think you'd have a great time. It's a theater company that's really worth exploring.
Excellent. What is it about the play that gives you special thrill when you're doing that role?
Again, it's the notice. The play is ultimately about forgiveness and the nature of forgiveness. And there's a very interesting question at the end of the play. Can you forgive people who don't deserve forgiveness? That's a very interesting question. And Shakespeare deals with it in a very specific way in this play. And he deals with it from the perspective of an older artist, and a person who's been through life and comes out realizing things that you wouldn't realize when you're in your 20s. But it is really about what does it take to forgive people who have seriously wronged you and who don't necessarily repent from seriously wronging you. And to me, that's a beautiful philosophical question.
Wow. Excellent. Now, they say that the isle is full of noises, sounds, and romance. And you sing. We just showed a picture of you over there. You sing.
Oh, yeah. I've done a lot of musicals over the years.
Yeah. Okay.
I love doing musicals. I mean, again, it's what I grew up on in New York.
I won't tell nobody.
So it's certainly in my DNA. Musical comedy. I love doing them.
Okay. Tell us where this play is located at, sir.
It's in Glendale on the corner of Broadway and Brand. There it is. That's our little marquee there. The Hot House, that was a play that I did there actually back in like 4 years ago. Wonderful Harold Pinter play. But yes, that's our space right there, 110 Broadway. We like to say it's NTS on Broadway. It's a lovely space, like I say. It's a great part of Glendale and very active, and it's a great place to come visit and come see a really interesting play.
Okay. How do I get information, sir?
Antaeus.org, ANTAEUS.org.
All right. Okay. I see the telephone number 818-506-1983.
There it is. Thank you.
Okay. One of the things that I've learned about being around actors, they always ask, what's next for you?
Well, like I said, I'm going to direct this one-man show that a friend of mine has written.
Okay.
He's a brilliant, wonderful puppet maker and mask maker, and he's doing a one-man show of Mark Twain's Huckleberry Finn with all of these puppets that he's created. It's going to be charming and wonderful. I'm not quite sure when that will be. It will be sometime probably early next year that we have done. So that's the next thing I'll be involved in.
Wow. Sounds like, when you first, you 71 IMDb credits, film and all that good stuff. But you get up on that stage, I swear, Peter, when you're up there, you become alive, don't you?
It is, it's what I trained to do in New York. It's what I love. It's what I grew up watching. It is who I am. I am a stage actor. I think sometimes I actually feel I'm more comfortable on stage than I am in real life.
Tell us about the first time you got up on a stage.
Wow. I can remember actually doing a play when I was, I think in like 4th grade, and I played a judge. And it was a play about taking care of your teeth. It was called The Tooth, The Whole Tooth, and Nothing But the Tooth. And I played a judge about people who were not taking care of their teeth. And I distinctly remember people laughing and going, "Ooh, that's a nice feeling," and I think I was hooked then.
And it's kept, as you did, the more you do, the better it gets. Is that correct?
Really true. It's really true. It's an important art form. It's an extraordinary art form. I always say to people that somebody somewhere who has seen your play, somebody's going to say something to their loved ones, to their friends. They're going to say something more meaningful. They're going to say something kinder. They're going to say something funnier. They're going to say something cleverer. And it's going to be because of the play that they saw. They may not know it, or they may know it, but the watching a play will have an effect on your life. It will. And that's, to me, that's the reason to do it. That's the reason.
Yes.
Especially as I grow older, it becomes tantamount. It has an effect on people.
All right. Well, listen, all I want to say to you, sir, is thank you, thank you, thank you.
It's been a pleasure.
Running out of time.
To know you and spending some time with you. It's been joyful.
My pleasure indeed. Please come back again so we can hear some more about William Shakespeare.
Anytime.
Please give my best to your publicist, Lucy Pullman.
Will, for sure. We love you.
Ladies and gentlemen, veteran actor, Peter Von Norden. Take care of yourself. Good to see you.
Take care. Bye-bye.
Okay. This is The Actor's Choice. I'm your host, Ron Brewington. Roll it, Tony.
Good morning.
Ladies and gentlemen, my next guest today is a retiree, an expert of film entertainment as a producer, executive producer, and other positions. Roll it, Tony. Ladies and gentlemen, you just had a look at a gentleman who we have today is Keith L. Craig. He is a media mogul, And before I had it down on a piece of paper, I had it all written, so I'm gonna take it from my soul. When I must say to this gentleman, look at that handsome young man wearing that uniform. Ladies and gentlemen, anytime I see a man in a uniform, or women too, the first thing out my mind is, thank you for your service to this country. You did what, 32 years, sir?
Yes, around 32 years, yes.
32 years. I did about 20, almost 22. I was in the Navy.
Salute.
Indeed. Hand salute. Amen, brother. Amen. People don't understand. When you wear that uniform, ladies and gentlemen, be prepared to die. That's what it's all about, especially when we got wars going on and things like that. A lot of people don't understand it. They don't understand what that's all about. So I just want to let you know, definitely. Thank you for coming here today. One of the things that I want to talk about is you came from what city, sir?
I came from Mobile, Alabama.
Mobile, Alabama. Yes, there it is. Yes. Beautiful city.
Yes, near the Gulf Coast, if you will. Yep. Yes, on the water.
Yep. Okay. You have a story to tell. Being Black, being born in the South, tell us what that was all about.
Sure. I was from the low part of the South, Alabama, if you will, and where, I'm the grandson of a sharecropper. For those who don't understand what that is, we got land to plant crops in, on, should I say, from all the things, corn and okra, things of that nature. And, when you actually, share the land and crop the land, a percentage of that actual, crop came home to you. So it's kind of how the sharecroppers paid their labor, if you will. So a lot of hard work, a lot of determination was actually built up there. A lot of resiliency was actually, that's where it came from back then.
Tell us, why did you join the military, given all you've just said?
You know how it is, Ron, when you don't know where you're going, where you know where you don't want to be. I realized a long time ago, when I was graduating high school, very early age 17, I knew that wasn't for me. Didn't understand why. Obviously, I wanted to be liked by my relatives, things of that nature, but it just wasn't. It wasn't something that inspired me, motivated me, or anything like that. So, the first time I got a chance to see a way out, I got on the bus and I went to the MEP station and I was on my way.
Amen. I've heard it. So I lived it myself. We were born I have a twin brother. He went in the Navy. He went in the Marine Corps. I went in the Navy. We lived in Harlem. And when we got to be 18 years old, my mother said, "Sons, get out of my house. Mom, don't you love us? Get out of my house. Son, don't you need me? Get out of my house." She said, "It's time for you to find out to grow up."
Right.
One of the best things I ever did. The job that I had in the Navy was just awesome. I was a journalist, get involved in the armed forces, radio and television service, stuff like that. Had a great time. I'm glad I did it. I know you glad you did it. Whatever.
Absolutely. I know AFN networks overseas in Europe, so on and so forth. So absolutely, I wouldn't be here today if I hadn't, went out there and broadened my horizon, things of that nature, and learned the value of finding mentors that can help you, see or determine what it is you want to be or things you want to learn. So absolutely.
What was your job in the Army? Army, not Navy, Army.
Say again?
I said, what was your job in the Army?
Well, I first started off as a nuclear weapons specialist, right? Long story short, I had a pretty good had a pretty good test score, right? So I went to the recruiter and told the recruiter that I wanted to become a computer operator. Obviously, the story of the recruiters, right? They always kind of bait and switch. So when I said computer, they switched me to monitor programmer, meaning that I would be monitoring the programmer for the nuclear weapons. So I was a nuclear weapons specialist, if you will. That's how it started out. Yes, before I learned that there were better jobs, and I eventually changed my MOS, my occupational specialty, to logistics. And that's kind of where I built my resume, if you will, becoming a logistical engineer in that space.
And you came out of the Army with what rank, sir?
Came out of the Army with rank of Sergeant Major, which is the top 1%, E9, if you will.
Oh, yes.
Yeah. went to the academy for a year back in 2006, and where it's all about leadership and values and strategic planning. So that's kind of where I think has led to me to go into Hollywood and because it's all about strategy, right? So
yes.
When you're able to strategically put a plan in place, because a lot of people, it's all about operationalizing the plan.
Yes.
So a lot of people can make a plan, but if you can't put that plan into operation, it's just a dream. It's just epiphany that you had. So that's what the Army has done for me.
Okay, let's fast forward. You left the Army. You went to work at Disney. Can you tell us about that?
Sure. Yeah, went to work at Disney. Very fortunate to learn the transfer logistics into the distribution. There are a lot of scientific norms, if you will. A lot of similarities. There's content. There's something that has to be delivered somewhere. So going to Disney, actually went out to UCLA to study the business of entertainment. And then upon studying the business of entertainment, I understood the business of the business, which is how the sausage is made, if you will. And in doing that, obviously, I was very fortunate to be there at the height of Disney, and which is King of Hollywood, and part of the strategic team that developed the strategy for Black Panther, which ended up being the award-winning film, nominated for 7 awards. Part of the green lighting procedure that launched. Ryan Coogler was the first Black director for an all-Black cast. Michael B. Jordan and Chadwick Boseman, along with Angela Bassett, Forrest Whitaker, so on and so forth, along with Avengers, which ended up making $3 billion, so surpassing the highest grossing total of Avatar. I was just felt in Hollywood at the right time to become an award-winning film distributor, if you will.
Okay. Then you stayed with Disney. How long did you stay with them?
7 years. Stayed with Disney 7 years. Absolutely. Okay. I found myself in 2019, 20 at an Oscar party, and there were a lot of celebrities, namely Tiffany Haddish actually stood up at the time and was asking, the panel, what are you guys doing for the independent filmmakers out there? How do you support independent filmmakers? Because as you know, Ron, if a studio doesn't cast you to be in one of their, Marvel, Lucasfilms, or a Pixar movie, you have to make your living with independent filmmakers.
Right.
So when that question was asked, actually my PR, who was with me at the time, nudged me in the back to stand up, but I really couldn't make a move because, I was still at the studio, and you have to kind of stay in your lane, if you will, if you're at the studio.
Right.
So across the room was other studio executives from Lionsgate and Warner Brothers and all these other studios. So I couldn't say anything at the time. But it was at that time that I said to myself, I've already had my career as far as being stable, having stability in my life, so on and so forth. But what I want to do is find my purpose that I could operationalize a plan, and put my passion behind it. Gotcha. And that became, supporting independent filmmakers, because a lot of independent filmmakers spend their whole life, trying to get their story out, whether it be a documentary or a feature film that they've been dreaming about, and not just want to be an asset or a tool for them.
Okay. Can we show a picture of that young lady who had that question? One day stood in front of a crowd of film studio executives and asked them. She's doing independent work. Tiffany Haddish is her name. Oh, thank you, sir. Oh, there she is, beautiful lady. Award-winning actors, comedian, just beautiful. But she's one of the ones that, to this day, she's still doing what she's doing. Okay. You started your own business. A gentleman named Jeff Porter started a business.
Yes, sir.
Okay.
Yes. Jeff and I, a few years ago, started a business. We came together. Jeff is a 15-year producer's rep. Been in the industry a long time.
Okay.
Great at his craft. We partnered up, obviously. Him knowing the TV side, me knowing the theatrical distribution side. I was very fortunate enough to actually be a part of the domestic distribution team that distributed over $42 billion worth of films. So in that, we thought it would be a perfect marriage, if you will, in the business spectrum. So we came together to form a company out of Beverly Hills called Porter Craig Film and Media. Again, and it's just, it's a worldwide media company, with the objective of helping independent filmmakers find a soft or safe home for their content, for their dreams, for their babies, as we call it.
Yes. We have just a couple of minutes. One of the things that I'm glad you found a publicist, a good friend of ours, Edna Sims. See a lot of folks who don't have a publicist. I see you went and got yourself one. Definitely.
Yes,
let's see. You have your business with clients. You have theater chains, HBO, Netflix, Showtime, just to name a few.
Yes, that's correct. Yeah, our clients are everybody you know on the broadcast aspect, and the theaters, AMC, Regal, Cinemark, wherever you want your films to be at, we can get it there, because we have monthly relationships and meetings with all these network executives as well as the circuit executive as well. Okay.
How about podcasting? Will you ever get into that business?
We have not, but there will be. We will at some point, broaden our horizons and raise the ceiling on that. As we find partners who are in that space, who's operating in that space. Absolutely.
Okay. Well, Keith, I want to thank you very, very much. We ran a little short today. We can always get you back on the show to hear some more of what you just said today. Really appreciate it. Again, once again, thank you for serving for your countrymen. Thank you very much.
Appreciate you, Ron, and thank you for your service as well. Salute, my friend. Thank you.
Well, thank you so much. Thank you. I want to thank you for sharing your life with us, going from a child to a young man in service in the United States Army and now working as a media mogul. We wish you the best for you and your family. God bless you. And thanks for Edna Sims. Okay?
Absolutely. Thank you, Edna.
I want to thank our sponsors, Harvey Brandman Photographers and Art, Ron Irwin's Lose Life, The Way to Lose Weight, Larry Buford's Book to the Future, Time Travel, Message in a Capsule, State Farm agent Carla Green, and veteran actor Rob Brownstein's Acting Training School and Actor Space. Much thanks to our guest today, comedian, actress, entrepreneur Margaux Avedisian, veteran actor Peter Van Norden, and media mogul Keith L. Crabb. Special thanks to our ever-growing audience. Be well. See you all next time. Take care.
Welcome to The Actor's Choice, where